Hello and welcome to another Scratch V8 tutorial. In this tutorial I would like to address the media browser in Scratch. So to get an idea of what the media browser is, when you navigate into your constructs, like here, okay, basically you're displaying your visual libraries, okay? And in this case, when you go to a shot, you can modify the shot settings. You can modify the metadata directly from here, from the metadata stack, okay, like modifying the color space or whatever. But you cannot do this as a batch transform, right? So this is why the media browser have been implemented. So if you select a shot, like I do here, and go to media browser, this shot gets selected in the media browser as well, okay? And here at the top, you can see that you can access the grade tab here, where you have all this grading information, the files, to the link, the audio, shot config, and now metadata, right? So if I select all my shots in the construct using Ctrl-A and go to media browser, all these shots are selected. So of course here it's very simple because I only have 8 shots, but that allows me to batch transform and apply changes using multi-select in a very easy way. So you can perfectly type on any text field and modify any value inside. Now if I select my shots again, and if I go to shot config, where basically I can find all the debugger settings that were applied to each shot, I can see that these shots have different curves, okay, different color spaces, and different gamma spaces. I can also drag directly on the thumbnail to navigate through the shots. So you can imagine that in that precise case, I want to select all my shots and maybe reset to clip. That means get rid of the curves, okay, and maybe change the gamma space and the color space. So let me switch to red color 3 and red gamma 3. And this gets applied to all my shots. Okay, so I don't need to apply the changes. What I need to do is just close the media browser, and this change I've been applying now to all my shots in my construct. Right. So the same way, if I look to this new construct, here I have more than 100 F65 shots. I can perfectly select all my shots, go to media browser, and same in my shot config, I have all these informations. So as an example, here I'm working on an HD project. So what I want to do is change the debugger to project size for all my shots at once. Okay, maybe change the filtering in my decoding settings just for my display. So I can put it to length source. And here I have my color settings where I can select if I want to start from the S gamut as an example, and you can see it gets updated in the color space. And same here in the gamma space, if I change, let's say, to Rec 709. Okay, now something else which is interesting in the media browser is that you also have access to the metadata I was talking about in the metadata stack. So if I switch to the metadata tab, you can see that I have here a large empty space on the right side. The reason is that, I have here below all the metadata is available generated by the camera. Okay, so I can perfectly decide to customize my display, and I want to show, let's say, the white balance used and maybe the last modified date. And of course, in order to see it properly, I can extend the size. Okay, so I get the arrows as well. And all this information can be burned into the image using the metadata item when you use a burning. But I can also customize and create my own column. So if I create a new column called, let's say, operator, like this, which doesn't exist in the metadata, I can perfectly add my name and hit send, right? So this is a new metadata I just created, and that can be burnt onto the image using the burning plugin. So you can enter any kind of column directly. Now, close. Right. Now let's see another kind of task. Okay, here I have Alexa anamorphic ProRes 444. Okay, so typically to work with these shots, I would need to go to the config to load a source mapping LUT or a grading LUT, and I would use the ARRI log-C to video in that. Okay, so I can do it here on a shot by shot basis and then copy and paste, or I can go directly to the media browser, again select all my shots, go to media browser, but this time go to the grade here. And here you can see on the right side, you here have source mapping in the middle, and on the right I have my source LUT and grading LUT. So I can perfectly decide to load a single LUT, or maybe look for a specific LUT which might have been generated by another tool like LabGrade, and which would contain the scene and take information as an example. Any function can be used to sort and refine the LUTs I'm looking for. Right now, let's make it simple, and let's load a single LUT that I will load as a source LUT. Now this LUT is applied as a source LUT and not as a grade LUT. So, by the way, I would use exactly the same menu if I had graded my shots and if I wanted to export all the shots gradings as LUTs. I would use the export LUTs and grades here and select the type of LUT I would like to export. It could be 1D LUT, 3D LUT, CDL, or the Scratch proprietary .ccr. Okay, so close again to apply the changes, and now my LUT has been properly applied to all my shots. So another task where Media Browser will be involved is when you want to relink audio. So I can select all my shots again, go to the Media Browser, and that time navigate to the Audio tab. Right, so same as before, we have the option to either select the audio files by timecode, or if we don't have any timecode, use functions here. Okay, and let's say if my audio contains the scene and take, I should be able to relink properly. So let's make it simple. Let's go by timecode, find my audio, and I'm going to go to here. Okay, and you can see that Scratch actually found the shots by timecode, gave me an audio sleep value, which is 1, which is perfect. Okay, now if you look here on the base tab, you can see that on the right side I have the scene and take informations. These scene and take informations were not there earlier. They've just been added by the audio files because they contain these informations. Now on the left side, if you look, I have my shot names. So A005, C009, 12, 13 LG won't tell too much to the offline editor. So what I can do is customize this column. So I'm going to use, let's say, real ID followed by underscore scene underscore and take name. Okay, and if I set this, I'm going to rename my shots following the information is available in the real ID column, scene and take. Okay, so I'm not modifying the shot itself, I mean the file name, I'm just modifying the metadata, which means when I will export to MXF or to ProRes whatever, the offline editor will get shots already correctly labeled and won't have to rename these shots again. Okay, as you can see, many tasks can be done in the Scratch Media Browser. Another one which is quite useful is when you have a lot of shots like it is the case here. Okay, you can perfectly select everything. And if you go to Media Browser, you navigate through all these different types, and you can see I have different resolutions, etc. But I also have in my metadata, you can see that nodes have been added on the top of that, right? And again, from here, you can perfectly add your own column or maybe add a global note. Let's say reviewed, and maybe put these in purple and add. And you can see that just added a new note next to the other ones. And same, I want to add a specific column, which can be assimilate or whatever. And also want to customize the operator and say the operator column is going to be Danielle. Right. Okay, done. So as you can see, using the Media Browser is a great help, combined with the construct, which is again your visual library where you work and where you organize your work and see your shots, compared to the spreadsheet, which is Media Browser. Okay, hope you enjoyed this small tutorial. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.